that I know him. But he is infinite. Unless and until we experience infinitude, it's not possible for us to know him as he is.
I think that would be presumptuous.
No, it will be too presumptuous. It is presumptuous to say that I know him. I don't know him.
Right? That's a good one.
So I haven't come to the 10th. Katie, did you understand that?
Mandli Hall, Mirasad, March 4th.
Topic in mind.
Huh?
I had a topic that came to my mind the other day.
Where did it come from?
I don't know. But what happened was, somebody said something or related some little story, that incident that had happened in their life with Baba, recently. And I got the feeling that Baba was very eager to give his love to his lovers. That he really enjoyed giving love to his lovers and that he really wanted to. He was sort of straining at the bit to give his love to his lovers. And all these things sort of, he had to be patient. You know what I mean? And not do it. And that reminded me, and then I thought of asking you, if you observed him, let's say, before a darshan, or let's say in those Guru Prasad meetings or something, if like some Sundays, let's say not every Sunday, but some Sundays he'd really be in the mood to give his love to people. He'd want to go in early, he'd want them all to come. Would you observe that sometimes?
Yeah. We did observe that. So,
why don't you finish the story, Heather?
But you're supposed to tell that.
so we did observe.
I mean, some days, what would happen? Do I want everything to go early?
Yeah, he would not only want to go early, but he would, hurry us through the whole thing, And he would be, just as an ordinary man, you see, he would be more anxious to be there at the time. He would go early, he would be there, greeting and meeting people, inquiring after them. When we tell you all about these things, well, it is taken for granted by you all. But then when I heard Alan Ewell telling us about his impressions, what happened and how he felt him when he met him as a youngster, a teenager, so it reminded us again with greater force how he was anxious to see to the comforts, how he was anxious to pour his love out, how he was anxious that the person received his love in full measure, even though the begging bowl was small. It should overflow, you see, because he never liked anything to remain, you see, below the brim. It must overflow. So he gave us a very good picture about it, about the care and concern that he expressed. It was not just a lip sympathy as we call it, but he would go deeper into it. And that was but natural for him, because whatever concern that he showed towards others, he was showing towards himself, in others. And sometimes I get the feeling that why must it be so? I'm not so much concerned about myself. If I take myself to be myself, you know what I mean, That Divana, would always say, So, but why he must show such a concern, you see, as we now said that, well, because he was showing concern towards himself now. But there is one thing more that somehow or other I feel it must be so. I'm not sure about it. But you know what happens sometimes, when one is responsible for something. Suppose if something happens to you, suppose I send you out, Heather, please go and call Casey there. And there, what happens, you go out in a hurry and trip over and you fall down. All are concerned, but my concern is quite different because I feel myself responsible for having hurried you through all this. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
So likewise, maybe his over concern for each one of us is that he being the cause of the plight we are in. That's how I feel. You know what I mean?
I can still remember from the East-West gathering.
What is that?
Those meetings in the side room. How Baba would ask so many people how they slept.
Yeah.
Every morning it would be the same. Just ask. I was really struck by that.
Yeah.
He'd ask, I guess, in a room full of, say, 30 or 40 people, he'd ask at least a dozen how they slept the night before and go around and pick up.
What do you do? Encourage people to sleep well or what?
Yeah, he would want us to sleep well. Because he is the cause of disturbance, you see. So he must be anxious about it.
Yeah. In that listen humanity, the reason they couldn't sleep was because they'd be full of thoughts of him.
Yeah. And he would be concerned whether you ate well because he was the cause of making others not eat well. You see. And that's how, what I mean is this, that which I was telling you, that his expression of concern to a degree where it sometimes becomes nauseating to the ones who hear, you see. What the hell is all this? You see? Who are these people, you see, that he should feel so much concerned about it?
But then he also said on a more practical basis that if they hadn't slept well, then they wouldn't be in a position to hear.
Yeah, that is just, well, yeah, what do you call it? Masala. Yeah, icing on the cake, that is, you see. Maybe the reason behind it all is that his deep concern is because he is the cause. That's how I feel it. And that story about holding his bowels, movement of his bowels and all that, that is another good illustration of how anxious he was. And when he could have been easily taken and driven to the toilet, he wouldn't want it to be done because they were expressing their love and he loved that. And he was pouring, without their knowing, he was giving their love in holding and suffering like this, you see. And that's another good story about it, So that's how it is. And the whole thing hinges around love. Because of love. There's a nice poetry that we read yesterday, Because of Love. I don't know whether you have seen the program. Sufism reoriented her put for the birthday occasion. Yeah. This is your question, you said, Christina.
My question is, what did Baba say about following? Well, I don't know the exact quote, and I want to find out what Baba said about not to follow other masters or not to associate with people who are following other masters, or what is the wording?
I don't know the wording because I haven't read any Baba literature. I don't know from where you got the quotes, Christina, but what Baba said is, he said just the opposite of it all. When did he say that you should not associate yourself with others who were following other masters? When did he say that you should not follow other masters? When did he say all this?
I don't know. I don't know that he said that.
Yeah. So how can we then quote him?
Right.
Because first of all, he may have said in a different way, but I don't know the quotes.
Well, he said to stay away from other spiritual masters.
He told us one thing that I remember, that we should not get ourselves involved. Yeah. There's no question of not associating or anything of the sort. We can associate. Aren't we associating with our Master who is Jesus the Christ?
Yes.
Am I not associating myself, calling myself a Zoroastrian by following the precepts of Zoroaster? Yeah, it's like that. There are many people, you see, who have their masters and they can follow Baba, you see. Yeah. There are some, my master is, you may call it, an anger, conceit, deceit are my masters, you see. And yet I follow Baba. Yeah. What he said now, let's not take the serious matter humorously, you see. What he has told us, has given us to understand at least, not told us, that when he is in our midst, it is ridiculous, it is futile for us to go out in search of any master as such. Because masters are guides that lead you to him, to God, isn't it?
Yes.
To your godhood.
Yes.
That means the reality will give you the experience of reality. They will guide you towards that experience. So when reality has come in our midst, you see, in spite of his camouflaging himself as man, but he tells us very blatantly, loudly, from housetops that he is that reality. So when he is in our midst, and if by greatest fortune and blessedness, if we are, in spite of his being in our midst, he is in our midst, means in the midst of the world. So the whole world does not become aware of it. But if we have the greatest fortune, greatest blessedness, and we become aware of his being in our midst, you see, and then doesn't it sound very ridiculous and absurd for us to go out in search of a master that can get us to him? He is there in our midst now. What we have to do is to try to put into practice what he tells us directly. It's from the horse's mouth, as you call it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, why go out and read the books or go out and ask the third person, you see? It gets filtered through them. Although they will be telling you the same thing, whatever, but now we have got him here, so have it directly from him. So that is what we have gathered from him. Then, this is the first step. Then the second step is this, that for those who come to him not knowing who he is, not being aware about it, and he comes and he is there before Baba, and Baba pours out his love, you see, gives his love, and says that carry my love with you back home. He doesn't throw these words out in the air. He means what he says. We don't know what carry my love with you. What does it mean? What is there to carry? Carry air? What is it? But he has really given you the seed of loving him. So carry that, nurture it, hold it precious to your heart. So what happens then if we do that? If we go back home and nurture it and allow it to grow, it does grow. It's something very beautiful. But then if we meet with distractions and get distracted and get involved, and then we come across people who say that, Christina, where had you been to? India. Oh, then you must have gone round the places of pilgrimage. Have you been to Banaras and Kasi? Have you been to Haridwar? You said, no. You didn't go there. Then why did you go to India? said, I went to Meher Baba. Oh, yeah, we have heard the name. But you should have gone there, you see. There are other masters also who speak. He is silent, you see. Well, yeah, what will you get from him? There are other masters also there. Oh, is that so, you'll say? I didn't know. Next time I'll make it a point. Yeah. So wait just a minute. Then what happens is, I'm not no aspirations, you see, cast on you. It's just a thing that happens to us all. I'm just giving an example, but quoting your name, that's all. So should I not quote your name? Should I quote any? Yeah.
No,
Okay.
quote my name.
Yeah, he's like a rock, you see, it doesn't happen. So what happens is, then you start thinking about, you have the seed of love in you. He wants you to nurture it and all that. But then the thought is there, the mind starts playing, which affects the seed that is there in your heart planted by him. Distraction is there, diversion is there. So then you start, it so happens that you come across another person who tells you about somebody else, you see, and it begins to grow. Instead of allowing the seed to grow, you have these extraneous thoughts to grow in you, you see, and have roots in you. So that is the distraction which he didn't want. He wanted one-pointed attention, devotion. He himself would call that, I am jealous God. I am very jealous. I don't want my lovers to love any other beloved except me, because I am the only beloved. I am the eternal beloved. So he used to tell us that I am very jealous about it. And the duty devolves upon him, you see, if he accepts you as his lover, then it's the duty of the beloved to see that the lover remains faithful to him. You follow? So whenever Baba, people would come to him, and even strangers or visitors and all that, so then Baba would make it a point expressly, after the person has taken his darshan and left his presence, then he will send one of us out. Usually it would be, he would point at me, go and tell him. Just he would say that, I will know what it means. So what is to be told? Baba says, hold on to his daman tightly, carry his love with you that he has given you back home straight. That's all. Don't go anywhere else. Don't involve yourself, you see, with other distractions. So in the beginning it was all right for me to carry out his command. Every now and then it would be so. Suppose if there are 20 persons who have come and gone out of this room, and he might say, send me out 15 times repeating the same thing to different persons. I would go there. But then with the passage of time, when years roll by, and 15 becomes 15,000 like that, to go and tell the persons. That is also permissible, because that's his will, he is the Lord. But suppose if he were to tell Hoshang, you see, who is so often coming to him, and there is nobody else besides Baba for him. So when Hoshang goes out the room, so go and tell him. So I'll go and tell him. But then it begins to grow, this thought. What is this? Every now and then his jealousy, we can understand his jealousy, but not to a degree where the person is wholly and solely his, where the soul is wholly and solely devoted to him. Why should he? So then he might tell, go and tell Michael, go and tell him before he leaves. So I said, but Baba, he has heard umpteen times, he has come 13 times here to you, and he knows this. Once I did tell him like that. Why they know all these things. He says, no, you go and tell him. So I would just go there. So it would grow like this in my mind, and then I would forget and all that. But he would sometimes spurt out these things that I'm jealous. I'm very jealous of, and I don't want my lovers to get involved with other masters or anything of the sort, or any other yoga practices or anything of the sort. And then he would tell us the futility, how ridiculous it is, the absurdity of it all. He'll bring home to us. In spite of it, we know that these people, suppose if he were to tell me not to go to any other masters, how would I feel? I'd feel hurt. You follow? So likewise, these are people, you may call them in our simple English language, veterans in his love, you may call it. So to tell them, it's ridiculous. You follow? To my mind. Then he told me this, that it is the bounden duty of the beloved. Once a lover is accepted by him, then it is his duty that he has to time and again remind them that they should not stray away from their love for him. So one day, years passed by again, everything gets forgotten. With him, we people used to forget things. So one day while I was driving him in car, all of a sudden that there is a Nala there, I still remember, Shendi Nala, and he says to me, you see, suppose if there is a person who has fallen in love with a very beautiful woman, that woman becomes his beloved now. He is asking me. So I said, that's what it is said. So, and suppose, she's very beautiful and the person is over anxious to please her and she does not want him to come to her, and she stops him coming to her, and he has fallen in love with her. And if after a passage of 2 years, 3 years, once he receives a telegram from the beloved, says, will it be possible for you to come and meet me? So what would be the reaction of the lover who has fallen in love with this woman? Baba is asking me all these questions, mind you.